We're going now to our first report, and it is the Ouyen United Kangas footy report. I'm excited about what I'm hearing, and I'll tell you what, Andrew Wilsmore got that excited. He's still on his tractor. But I tell you, we have got somebody who knows very close to what's going on. Scott Grigg, the coach. He joins us for the first time in place of the great man, Andrew Wilsmore. G'day, Scott. How are you?
Good, Flo, man. How are you?
Really good. We've left him out on the tractor for a week. We reckon that it could actually get him in good form, but we're hoping it gets Dallas in good form too, with them doing a bit of tractor work for a few weeks.
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt him to stay out there for a bit longer. He needs to help out the family business.
He does, doesn't he? But I'll tell you what, helping out on the field was a bit of a special moment. It got right down to the wire. Dallas Wilsmore was in it. Kane Stevens, Reed Stevens, you're a new recruit. Jamal Daly out of defence. You came up against the top side, Ouyen, who won the flag last year. A shot for goal just a minute or two before the final siren would have put you in front, and that would have been interesting, but Ouyen ran it down the other end, cleaned up a goal, and won 8-10-58 to 6-11-47. I reckon this is a similar loss to the loss you had in, I think, the prelim last year, where you got real close there.
Yeah, it was pretty much a carbon copy. Where in the prelim we had 2 or 3 shots within the first 5 minutes of the last quarter, and each one of them would have put us in front. We missed all 3 of them, and they were able to go down the other end and score a goal in a very tight, low-scoring tussle.
This is what happens, though, too. You're at the Swallows' home deck. When we're talking to Andrew, I was sort of having a chat off air about, is it going to be a tough season, Andrew? Like, are you really going to be matching it with Wentworth and Ouyen and maybe Robinvale with their improvement? But, gee, this tells us, Scott, that you as coach and with Kyle Barker running around on the field as your on-field coach, that you've really got the cattle and you're going to be right up there.
No, we've definitely got the right group to be extremely competitive at the pointy end of the season. Our pre-season hasn't gone as smooth as we would have liked, but a lot of it was out of our control. Ouyen being a big farming community, throughout the months of January, February, and November and December, work is a priority. We live by the ethos that family's number 1, work's number 2, and footy and social life is number 3. So a lot of these boys were out on tractors from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. So match fitness wasn't going to be our strength in the first couple of rounds. We definitely took a large step forward last week, and we'll still take another large step forward in the coming weeks ahead.
Daniel Coghlan, good for them, and the couple, and Nando Carrillo played some good footy. Jamal Daly, head and shoulders, one of the better players on the field, and probably the best on the field from all reports. We'll have a look at the other games. I'll get a comment just quickly on each one. Mildura beat Merbein, who nailed you the week before. I couldn't believe the scoreline. 9-20-74 at Kenny Park up on that little windy hill there at Merbein. 7-7-49 to the Magpies. That was a surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't a total surprise. We played Mildura in a practice match, and Sam Kerridge has really got them playing some really structured footy. He's got a defensive zone working. They get him behind the ball, so it wasn't a total surprise to me.
Yeah, well, that's a big result for them in their season. The win by Robinvale Euston, it backs up the big win the week before over Wentworth. They beat Imperials 9-5 to 4-14. Imperials weren't far off the mark.
No, and their team's going to get better as the season goes on as well, with Matt Day finding his feet there as a coach and playing at the same time. He'll bring a lot of strategies to the group that they'll grow within the season. When
we heard that Jared Brander was coming to the league fresh off of his AFL experience with Greater Western Sydney and particularly with the West Coast, we thought, well, gee, how good will Wentworth be with this young gun back? Well, we now know he kicked 13 goals out of a total of 19, and Wentworth home 19-12, 126 to South, 4-4-28. The Brander has bent them back and he looks the goods.
I had a look at him when he played in the Sunraysia game against the Red Tails, and He gets right up the ground. He covers the ground really well. Gets very active, and he's a lovely shot on goal. So we'll put in place some things coming Saturday that we think can not only restrict the ball coming down as often, but just restrict his ability to take marks.
He does take some beauties. He's got a really one-grab type forward, which is something that every team wants, and it's Wentworth's very, very good privilege to have it. In the reserve grade, your blokes came out and they got nailed in the result, but did try hard. 17-11, 113 to 128. The depth here for Ouyen is astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've had their depth took a bit of a dent this year, where quite a number of clubs from the middle of the league have come and approached that middle depth area, guys that hover in and out of senior football and reserve football, and they've gone out to the middle of the league, and Ouyen was one of the ones that did cop a bit of a dent there. But yeah, they've always got those 18, 19, 20-year-olds coming through their junior system that helps pep up their reserve side, and a lot of them go on and play many games in their seniors as well.
You saw some good football. This James Phillips played a really good game for you. Patrick Sherry, Bradley Summerhays and Jace Monaghan and Jackson Plant kicked the only goal. The benefit here is you got young lads like Billy Catanach and Caleb Farnsworth. Those young boys are running around in senior football. The two Neil boys, they are good footballers, Ben and Will. There's some good young kids that you're putting up since you don't have the 16 and 18s, and they're getting senior football, and they're starting to really find their feet.
Those boys there that you rattled off there with Will, Ben, Caleb, Billy's really made some steps forward this year. They're all under-18 lads that are playing in the reserves. We've got some under-18s in Blake Smith and Joel Grace playing. There's also Aidan Pengelly he'll play senior footy at some stage this year if he keeps developing the way he has throughout this pre-season.
Yeah, it's great to see. Having a look now at this really important game for the 14-year-olds. They came out and got nailed by these very impressive Swallows, 11-26 to 2 goals too. And you've got some overage players there, so there's not technically the result. But the fact that your kids have come out, and when I look at the list of lads, it's fantastic to see that you've got a group of young kids that are playing competitive football. And I know the overage kids that are playing, and that's caused an issue with the league. But I think this is a fantastic situation because it means that every week there's going to be a competitive Ouyen United junior side, and that's something we want for the future of football in the area.
Having the ability to be competitive, it's not about winning. We just want that group of boys to be competitive in every game that they win, because being competitive helps with their development, their mental development, and then along with their physical development, they're in a position where they can win a game or two. They happened to win the first game against Merbeam, which was their first win for quite a while, and the boys were extremely excited, but unfortunately the league have agreed to the fact that we are playing 5 or 6 overage boys. Some of them haven't turned 15 yet, but others will have turned 15 this year. They're not big brutes, or they're not fast and great players. They're good, handy players that are helping develop our 14s and 13s.
Great to see. This Finn Brown's a good young footballer, and looking forward to seeing more of him. The young Pengelly boys, that name pops up again. The Shadow boys are in there too. It's good to see the Grayling name, the Grace name. There's some good footballers coming through for the future there of the Ouyen United Kangas. All right, we're going to Underbool this week, and we will be looking forward to it. And there's a bit of talk around about who's going to take the might of Jared de Brander. And I'll tell you what, you've got 2 or 3 blokes back there. Has it been a bit of a raffle at training this week as to who might put their hand up?
No, we made our choice a couple of weeks ago, so we're pretty we're planned, prepared, and organised, and we'll go with our matchups and see how we go.
All right. Now, if I was guessing it, I reckon then Jamal might well be getting a job. He was the best player at centre-half back last week, so we'll wait and see as the team gets selected as to where they'll line up. In terms of beating them, you've got that close to the boys from over there at the Swallows. I reckon here there's a long road trip for Wentworth, and Underbool can be a bit of a cauldron for you fellas.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great opportunity for us to get our first win. We haven't got across the line in our first 2 games, and you're right, this would be the longest road trip for any club in the Sunraysia Footy League, Wentworth to Underbool. But once they're out there, it's a piece of grass, and it'll get down to the team that executes their game plan the best.
Who have you got in the midfield? I mean, it looks like you've got your stars back after that first round wedding, which is pretty important. Dallas Wilsmore is there, and I see that you've got this new player, and he looked really good last week, Reid. He certainly turned up to play, and I think that along with his brother, I think those two are giving you that extra depth in the midfield, Reid Stevens with Kane Stevens.
Oh, definitely. Reid's been great in both games. He really puts his head over it. He goes in head first, no fear. Wins the contested ball, and we're on an upward trajectory, and I'm pretty positive we'll keep going up.
It's going to be a big match. It's going to be great to watch, and I'm sure that Underbool will turn out in force. Just a tip on the other games that are being played across round 3. Mildura play Irimple. This would be very interesting, wouldn't it, at Brian Waitman Oval?
Yeah, no, obviously they share that ground there, so they're both on their home deck, but I'll go with Mildura.
I'm going to go with Irimple in that one. I reckon the match Robinvale Euston at home at John James against Redcliffe. So the way Robinvale opened up their season and their home deck, I got a feeling it's going to be a hard day for the Tigers.
Oh, the Tigers have been competitive in the game that they played. They beat Imperials, but yeah, I'll go with Robinvale.
Imperials play South, I think, at Mildura, even though it's on South's deck. I think Imperials get home.
Yeah, they do.
It's going to be a big day too for your twos. Have you got a good squad out for the reserve grade and for the 14s in terms of the numbers this week?
Yeah, we've got plenty of numbers. When I say plenty, there's 25 boys there through the under 14s. And then there is a couple of guys that are starting to get back on the track through the reserves. So, yeah, once again, the reserve group is a group. Todd Barker, first year coaching, he's doing a good job there. I reckon it's probably the toughest job in a club, coaching the reserves, the amount of phone calls and the turnover of players on a weekly basis just makes it hard to get any continuity in what you're trying to achieve with the group. So, they'll get better as the season goes on as well.
Great to have you on, Scott Grigg, coach of the Ouyen United Kangas. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. See you, play, man.